Community Services, in this particular case with one service name language, and also to have integration with Alexa. To start, we can see first the results of this process to then see the step-by-step how to do this. So the idea is have a virtual assistant or a bot, in this particular case to integrate with Alexa. For example, I have one device here, and the topic for this example, for this demo, is about mental health. Okay, so the idea is have a communication and interaction between this device and the knowledge based to have this communication, right? So I'm going to say one example. For example, Alexa, open the mental health bot.
Hello and welcome.
What is self-esteem?
The assessment we make about ourselves and our feelings.
Okay, that is the idea. To have.
Sorry, I don't know, but feel free to ask me something else.
Okay, the idea is to build the process to have this communication between Alexa, and the idea is to review this process now. So, starting in this part, again, it's a pleasure to greet you. I'm Daniel Gomez. I'm greeting you from Latin America region. Currently, I work as a developer advocate with .NET Solutions, and also I work as a software engineer here in Latin America region in my case. Also, I have the opportunity to be Microsoft MVP in Artificial Intelligence and Developer Technologies, C# Corner MVP, and also Community Builder of Amazon Web Services. And always it's a whole pleasure to be able to have this type of spaces because we can have a communications, exchange ideas. So if you have questions, comments, you can feel free, right, to write comments and something like that. And then we can also interact between each other to learn more about this. So the idea of this presentation is have as a first point an overview of these ecosystems, in this case, the communication between Alexa by voice. So then review the Azure Community Service for Language to provide the knowledge based to have these ecosystems. In this particular case, to work with mental health topic. Then we can review Azure Bot Service to have the opportunity to have this interaction, and then integrate Azure Bot Service with Amazon Alexa. At the end of the session, we can talk more about it. So we can get started. Okay, we can get started talking about Azure Community Service for Language. This service, language, allows you to work with natural language processing functionalities to understand and analyze texts. For example, we can take a text in a plain text or in a document and extract, for example, a summary, see what is the language of this text, ask questions about this text, and something like that. For example, in this case, if you previously worked with Azure, some community services in Azure, this service language is unification of text analytics for sentiment analysis, Quora Maker for question and answers customized, and also about language understanding. So this is a new Azure Community Services launch in the last Microsoft build. And now we can consider many options and features in this service. So, for example, we can consider extraction of case phrases in text. sentiment analysis and opinions, for example, to see if one text is good or negative for analysis. Also, the linguistic detections, we can consider as well text classifications or summarize of documents. That's it. That is very awesome because, for example, as students, we probably have many times many documents to read, and we can consider, for example, extract a summarize of these documents, for example. Also, we can consider conversation summarize, questions to answers, and in this case, we will see natural language recognition. So, this is the overview of this service. We can get started in this case to create a virtual assist that is a bot, and the topic is to promoting mental health. To do this or achieve this, we can consider as a first point, create a language resource in Azure, for then set a custom answers and questions functionalities, and then set up the knowledge base. With this, we can consider create a bot with Azure bot services, and then integrate these functionalities with Alexa. Okay, I'm going to share here my Explorer, my browser, and I'm going to go to Portal Azure. So the idea here is to create a language resource. We can consider many ways to find this resource. The most easy way is here in the search section. I'm going to write language, this one, and here is this is one of the cognitive services, as you can see here. For example, we can consider it here in language. For example, language understanding, the previously resource of this, now is a classic resource, also about CodeMaker. For example, in CodeMaker, if you use it previously, we can use it until October of this month, I think, because the idea now is use the language service. So, as like another resource in Azure, we can go in this section to see the resources of this type that we have in this part, or in this particular case, we can go to create a new one. So, in this point, we have default functionalities. For example, sentiment analysis, and summarize, and other features. But in our case, the idea is have a mental health topic, and also have the communication with questions and answers. So we have custom features in this part, and we need to select these custom questions answers, this functionality to achieve this goal. So with this in mind, we can proceed to create the resource here. Like another resource in Azure, as a first point, we need to select the subscription that we want to work, also with the resource group. Let me select, for example, here demos. Then the instance details to create this resource as a first point. For example, in this case, like another resource, we need to consider the region or to provide this resource, and then the name. The name is unique, I think. Let me try, for example, language. So, for example, okay, we have to consider other resource, other name. For example, this one, this other one. Oh, okay, it works. And then we have to consider the price tag. This is practically about the calls that we do to the resource. In this case, for example, the numbers of questions, or like this is like an endpoint to call an API. So it will be depend about the number of the calls that we do with this resource. So I'm going to use, in this case, this tire. We can consider here, go to the documentation to see in detail these functionalities and these prices. So also another resource that we can consider, or we need to consider, is about Azure Search, because we have to, for example, make a question, and this is to search in the knowledge base of the language services. So we have to consider this other resource as well. The idea is to create this other one in the same region, as you can see here. And also we have to consider the pricing type. I'm going to use, for example, this one as an example. And as a final point, we have to accept the terms of the responsible AI, like another Azure Community Service. So if everything is fine, the only final validation is here. Okay, everything is fine. Now we can create the resource. Okay, these can take 30 seconds or 1 minute to create the resource. So, okay, we can see, for example, the process of this creation here. The Azure Search is created, and the last one is about the language service. Okay. I already have other resource here, language, and to see more functionalities here. This is the result of the creation of the process. So the most important part, I think, is this one, case and endpoint, because we can consider this endpoint to then, for example, create calls from our applications. That at endpoint, if you use previously other cognitive services, the idea is very similar. Use this case and the endpoint. So in this resource in particular, we can go to the overview as a low-code mode, that is zero code in a graphical user interface mode. We can go to this part and see the option of Language Studio. That is to use this resource in a graphical user interface. So we can select this option, and in this point, we are going to the other portal, language.cognitive.azure.com, and we can consider the resources in a low-code mode. We can see many features here. For example, extract informations, classify text for analysis sentiments, for example, language understanding, summarize of text, translate text. But in our case, the idea is have the functionality of custom answering questions, something like that. For example, in this part, we can create a new project. We can consider here create new, and the option is custom question answering, this one. So we can create in this part this project. And as a first point, we have to select the language of our communication between us and the model. So we can consider, for example, here, set up the language for all the projects in this resource, or the language for this particular project. I'm going to select the language for this one, for this particular project. We can consider here many languages, as you can see here. So in this case, I'm going to put here English. And the next part is enter the basic information of the project. For example, here the name of the project, I'm going to write here demo. We can optionally write a description. And as a final part, for example, if we the model don't have any answers for one particular questions, we can personalize the answers. For example, in this case, the default is no answer found, but we can write something else. For example, let me write here some example here. Just 1 second. For example, in our demo for mental health, we can write something like this. Sorry, I don't know, but feel free to ask me something else. Yeah, we can personalize this answer. With this in mind, that's it. We have our project. We can see the review here and create a project. Okay. Here in this point, we have to consider, or we have to create a knowledge base of our project. To achieve this, we can consider here add sources. We have 3 options. For example, if we have a URL in a web page, for example, if we have a answer and questions section in one page, we can write the URL here and use this information. Also, we can consider, for example, here add files, and this will be our case. I have a document here. Let me show you this document about mental health with questions and answers. This one will be our knowledge base. Yeah, this document, this Word document with information about mental health. Yep. Okay.
Yeah, I'm trying. Yeah, sorry for that break. I'm trying to follow as you're kind of like doing this, and trying to when I get to like trying to like create the resource on Azure Supporter here. It's kind of like finding it difficult to show the when it comes to the instance details, the pricing tier. I'm really finding it difficult around there. I don't mind to like to build this, but I can't like create the resource here.
Yeah. Sorry, that is a question, right?
Yes.
Can you repeat that, please?
Okay, so what I was trying to say is that I'm trying to like follow as you're doing this, like this particular process. I'm trying to follow you as you're doing it. When it comes to like creating the resource, when it comes to creating the resource, it's not just going through from here. It just gets stuck when it gets to the pricing tier. Like when it comes to the basics of creating the resource.
Okay. Do you mean about the price tag that we can select to create this project, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's showing no options. It's no options.
Okay. As a first point, we have 3 options to use in Azure Search and also in language service. But for example, I'm going to add here this document as an example. But for example, in the free tier, we can consider, for example, just one document. If we want to use many documents, we have to consider as an additional plan to use this functionality to use many documents and also to add many sources. For example, to add an URL, documents, chats. So this is the reason to use other plans as well. Also, there are other documents. For example, this is a little example about 5 pages in this document. But we can consider, for example, 20 pages, many pages of another document. And also, for that, we can consider other plan in this case.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. Okay, in this case, okay, I'm going to search this file here in my desktop. This is the document, and okay, I have to create or write the name, and I'm going to add this one. It can take, it depends in the plant, because, okay, in this case, I didn't select the free plant, but in this case, the process is very, very fast about the Azure Search to identify, in this case, the questions and the answers, the pair of the questions and answers. As you can see here, for example, we can consider here the context, and in this context, we can have many questions here, and also the answers. We can manually write, for example, an alternative phrase here and personalize it, but that is not the idea. Let me go back to the knowledge based here. Demo. Okay, we have this one, mental health. This is a document we can consider, for example, a chit chat. This is, for example, to create or to have default questions, for example, hey, how are you? Or say something else. For example, we can have here professionals, additional questions, friendly, enthusiastic. For example, we can test with this one. This is chat. And also, as you can see here, we can have many sources here. And it will be depend of the plan that we have. So with this example, we can go in this section here to deploy the knowledge base. We can consider two options here. As a first point, get prediction URL. For example, if we have an application and we want to use these functionalities, we can consider create a HTTP request with post method, and this is the endpoint and a sample request. Okay, but the idea here is, okay, go to this part to deploy our project. That means to have a model of this example. Okay, the process is running in this moment. When it ends, okay, here, we can consider as well, go to this part in our knowledge base and create a test that is like a chat, and say something, for example, in this part, hi. Okay, hi, bye, but we can consider, let me open this part here. We can consider, for example, those other questions. For example, what is self-esteem, for example? Okay, and we can get the answer of these questions according to our knowledge base. So we can do some tests here. For example, I'm going to say, or I'm going to write something else, something wrong. For example, in Spanish, ¿cómo estás? How are you? Okay. We can see an answer here. Let me try with other example. Okay. This is the magic of the chat to get answers in other topics. Awesome, thanks for asking. Okay, let me try just in this part. Okay, fine. These other questions, random questions, is, for example, in this case, we can have the case. Sorry, I don't know, but feel free to ask me something else. In this case, the service didn't find anything in the knowledge base, and this is the default questions for this case. So we can consider text in this case, but our next option is create a bot. That is, for example, to create channel communications in WhatsApp, Telegram, Facebook, or in Alexa as well. So to do that, we can go to this part in the deployed knowledge base, and when it's done, we can consider this option to create a bot. These functionalities will redirect us to Azure with autofills options here, as you can see here, to create a bot. In the bot, we can consider similar things to create the resource. As a first point, the name of the bot, the subscription, the resource group, the locations, and also the pricing type. In this case, it will be depend of the number of calls that we can, or the number of message that we have with this interaction. So we can consider as a fair plan 10,000 of premium messages, for example, in the free plan. But if we need many messages more, we can consider this other one. For example, 1,000 messages in by 50 cents. It will depend also about the money of each country, but this is the idea. Okay, this is also an API. For example, send the questions and get the answers. But in this case, the API will be managed by Azure. And the only thing that we can consider here is say, okay, I want this API in C# or Node.js, and nothing more. Also, for example, here the language resource key about the Azure Community Service for Language resource. We can see here the key, and that's it. With this in mind, we can create the bot. Okay, now it's validating that everything is fine. Okay, and the deployment start. So this process can take the same 30 seconds or 1 minute to do. So, okay, maybe it's more fast. Okay, we can wait to create this resource. Okay, the resource is ready, and now we can go to this Azure bot service. As a first point, we can consider also here test in web chat to do some tests like we did previously. For example, hey, what is self-esteem? And get the answer, right? We can just do some tests here, but the important part in this service is this one, channels. In this part, we can associate or integrate this resource, this bot, at the same time associate with language service with a channel communication, as you can see here, by email, by Facebook, Line, Teams, and other resources. In this particular case, we want to integrate this bot service with the language service to an Alexa device. Okay. To do that, we need to create an Alexa skill to have this functionality. So when we have the Alexa skills, we need to write here the skill ID, and the connection will be done. So to do this process, let me share in this part. This is the next part, okay? Integrating Azure bot service with Amazon Alexa. Okay, we have as a first point to create an Alexa skill. Then configure the view in Azure to put the Alexa skills ID, and then update Alexa to have the associations to the bot. We can see the process now. I'm going to the console of Alexa that is in developer.amazon.com/Alexa. And here I have some Alexa skills created. With this, in this Amazon account, something interesting is we can test our skills. If we have a device, for example, this automatically sync between each other, and we can do some tests in the Alexa skills. So I'm going to create a new one. And here we can consider as a first point a skill name. I'm going to create here a demo. Also, we have to consider the language to interact. In this case, let me select English. We can consider many languages of English, many type of English here. In my case, I'm going to use the US English. And now we can use templates to create our Alexa skills. In this case, it's custom skills because we want to integrate this with Azure Bot Service. I know that is a rare combination between Azure and Amazon, but we can do that. So we can proceed to create the skills here. And now, okay, in this part, we can consider to create a template, for example, with a particular scenario here, but we're going to use the start from scratch. And that's it. Sorry, start from scratch. Okay, this is new. This is the first time that I have to do this. Okay, we're now creating the Alexa skill. Okay. This process is very fast as well. Yeah. Okay, we can wait. Start from scratch. Yeah, I put that. Okay, build is complete. It is taking a little more, but okay, it's ready now. Okay, this is our skill. We need to consider in this part, in this part, we have to specify two things. The mode of the interaction with Alexa, for example, to say, hey, Alexa, open the mental health bot. We have to set up this and also specify the connection to Azure bot service. So the interaction model, we have some options to set up this. The easy way is, for example, to consider a JSON. Okay, I have an example here. For example, invocation name, mental health bot. I'm going to use this different mental health virtual bot. For example, this is the invocation name. And also in this part, we need to add some examples to have. For example, how important is self-esteem and other examples here. We can save this model. For example, if we go here to invocations, we can see how this automatically sync. Skill invocation name, mental health virtual bot. Okay, the last part is endpoint. In the endpoint is to have the communication to Azure bot service. To this, we need the Alexa skill ID. We can go to the list of our skills here, and this is our demo. We can copy this Alexa skill ID And then we can go to Azure. In Azure, bot service in the channels, remember, in this part, we can select Alexa, and here we have to specify the Alexa skill ID. When we apply these changes, we will have an endpoint generated. This one, Azure Service Endpoint. Here we can copy this and go to endpoint in our Alexa skill. Okay, we can have Alexa skills with the data in Amazon Web Services as well, but in this case, we have this in Azure. And in the default region, we can write or paste, in this case, the endpoint that we can get that from Azure, and select aquí the certificates that is an endpoint with subdomain in other resource. We can also consider, for example, have versions by regions. For example, one version of this bot in North America, in Europe and India, for example, and we can consider that. Okay, and that's it. Then we can go to test and interact, write or say something to have this interaction with our model. But I already have other example here. Mental health bot. It's the same. I'm going to the test part. And this is the emulator of Alexa. If, for example, if you don't have an Alexa device, you can create tests here. And for example, the interaction starts with the invocation name skill. For example, open mental health bot. Hello and welcome from the language resource. As you probably can remember, we can consider other example. For example, okay, the same example. What is self-esteem? Okay, and that's it. You can also consider, for example, the interaction of this by the device. For example, let me think in other questions. That is all the process, right? Open the mental health bot. Okay, let me try again. Alexa, open mental health bot.
Hello and welcome.
How can I improve my self-esteem?
Learn to say no, to express your opinions and desires without fear, always from a clear language and without offending the other person you talk to.
Okay.
Hooray!
Something else to test the default question.
Sorry, I don't know, but feel free to ask me something else.
Okay, and that's it, and the interaction that we can consider, for example, as a first point, creating the language resource in Azure, then associated with the Azure bot service, and as a final part, integrate with a channel, in this case, with an Alexa device. So that's it. I really hope that you like this presentation. And if you have questions, we can try have the communication between each other.
Hi, Daniel. Thank you so much for that presentation. I personally liked it, and am grateful that I learned today presentation. So if anyone else has a question from Daniel's presentation, please feel free to mute it on
All
the
right.
chat box.
You can also write.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you very
And
much for
also,
that messages.
So I have no question. I just want to appreciate you for coming here today to enlighten us, because this is such a new topic, especially working with IoT. And I I was looking for, like, okay, how do we connect Azure Cognitive Services to Alexa? That was what I was looking for. But you impacted so much knowledge and understanding that I can now work hands-on with cognitive services. Thank you so much for doing this.
It's a pleasure.
so I guess if no one has a question, let me check. Okay, Laura is saying great session, Daniel. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much, everyone. I really enjoy to participate in this type of spaces. This particular one in English because my native language is Spanish, and this is the perfect opportunity to improve the English, you know. So, for example, if you have questions in the future or ideas, if we want to have in communications, I'm going to leave my social networks here. Feel free to ask or write if you have questions or something else. I will happy to interact with you. And that's it.
Yeah, so we're going to share the slides, and we'll get the slides from Daniel to share to everyone, and also we'll make the recording. We're going to upload this recording on YouTube so that you would have access to it any day, anytime. And if you want to ask Daniel any further questions after this, you could check out his social media usernames and connect with him on LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram. He will be happy to kind of like work with you and share ideas with you as well. That's okay. But so far so good. Yeah, I have been astonished by what I've seen today, especially working with Alexa.
Okay.
So I'm going to stop
Then,
you. I'm going to start the recording right now. So we can allow Daniel to go off. Daniel, thank you so much. We look forward to inviting you to come and host us another session in future. So anytime in the future. And thank you so much for accepting to enlighten African youth. And if you're outside Africa, shout out to you for trying to join as well. And thank you so much, Daniel.
thank you to you too for inviting me, and sure, come with me for other initiatives. So thank you very much
Yep.
again, and take care, everyone.
Bye.